Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. For the most part, I would definitely sit there and say that this was an entertaining episode. Now, starting off from yesterday, when it was Cody and, practically Lassie, barking at the cellar and Rick hearing it, there's a point where it stops and Rick is like, damn. And then Cody comes downstairs and Cody's like, what the hell is going on? And at first I'm sitting there thinking, oh great, it's gonna be another damn dream sequence. But it wasn't. And, he's like, help me get me out of here. And, Cody's like, listen, I don't know what the hell is going on. If you forgot the goddamn safe word, I don't know. I don't know if I want to be a part of this. But, he, eventually gags him and frees him from the handcuffs. And Rick is like, listen, I don't, he pretty much like, I don't know how you did that. I will deal with that later on. And at first, Cody's like, all right, let's go to the cops. Rick is like, nah, we got to go somewhere first. Now, while Alexis and Ava are complimenting each other on being good mothers and everything, Christina comes back. Christina's like, is Cody here? Because I see his truck outside. They talk for a little bit, and then Ava's like, all right, let's go and check on Rick one more time. Because they're waiting for this whole money to get out of Rick's account. So Ava and Christina go down to the cellar. They get there, they're like, oh, he ain't there. Meanwhile, Alexis is calling Molly, leaving her a voicemail, and Rick and Cody get upstairs, and Rick is like, no, why'd you hang out so fast? Call her back. We got a lot to talk about. So now Alexis is looking shook, and Ava and Christina come out, and they all start to tell their story, And of course, they try to make each other seem like, they try to make themselves look like they're the innocent ones. Oh, well, we was only doing this because, Rick was blackmailing us. And Rick is like, no, those three harpies, kept me there, locked up, chained in the basement or whatever. They're bad, they're terrible people. I'm like, Rick, you know damn well you're not innocent in this shit out there. Rick, was not there saying that Ava was bad because, she was stealing money from a baby. I'm like, bro, you're doing the same thing. Nobody in this goddamn room is innocent. But yet all of them are sitting there trying to, bribe Cody into doing the right thing. Or what they think is the right thing. Alexa's like, we just gotta wait one more hour, just one more hour. And Rick is like, no, you gotta sit there and give me a body here. You gotta do the right thing. There's one point he was like, you know what? I don't know what's going on. I won't be a part of this. I'm out. He starts to go to the door. He opens it up. Molly's there. Molly was with Dante, and she was getting worried. She's like, listen, you need to sit there and ping my father's phone because, I don't know where he's at. It's not like him to sit there and just leave a client hanging. This whole wellness retreat or digital detox or whatever, there's something that's just not adding up. And so Dante does exactly that, and he gets proximity when the last time his phone was used, which was today. Well, that's kind of weird. I thought he was on a digital detox. Like, what's going on? And then she finds out where is it located at, which was Alexa's house. So she goes down there, and as soon as the door opens up, she's like, what the And that's pretty much where it ends right there. Brooklyn has an idea to try to smooth things over Ronnie because, she starts sitting there laying out some options. She can stay, she can kick people out, she can leave, and she can let people sit there and stay there. And, Chase's like, yeah, that's not likely. With that huge taxes or whatever that she's going to have to pay for it, like, I don't see that happening. They can try to buy the house from her. They can all pull in their money, try to buy the house, and that's if she wants to sit there and sell it. So she's like, you know what, listen, if we make her feel welcome and we, introduce her to some people, whatever, it's more likely that she won't be so affected by Tracy and her constant venom. Now Ronnie goes to Bobby's. I was about to call it Kelly's. Runs into Gio. They get to talking. Um, Gio sits there and tells a story, and especially about the part where he went to the funeral and it felt different. And he didn't know if people actually cared about him because they now share the last name, or just do they actually care about him? And I'm getting to a point where I'm just like, this is really starting to get old. And Ron even sits there and tell him, you may not have much time with your family as much as you may think, and uses Monica as an example of all the stuff that she would have liked to have done with her sister, and just being like, don't cut them off forever because you never know. And she leaves. Dante comes in and is like, hey, listen, I just want to sit there and get some coffee. I hope that's cool. And Gio's like, don't worry about it, it's in the house. So I guess that's a start, if that really means much. Ronnie comes back to the house, and Brooklyn's like, let's have a tea party. She's like, I don't really know. Like, it's not usually my thing. Because, Brooklyn's like, listen, I want you to get familiar and feel at home, since it's your new home and stuff like that, and introduce you to some people, or poor Charles or whatever. And at first she says no. Until Brooklyn's like, I want you to sit there and carry out Monica's legacy. And that's when Ronnie's like, okay, that's good. You played the sister card. Okay. And so she agrees. Tracy comes in there. Tracy's like, so what's going on? Brooklyn talks about the tea party, and Tracy's like, I'll be there. And of course, the idea was she said on a certain date that Tracy wasn't going to be available. And Brooklyn's like, but you can't. You got that prior engagement, that fundraiser, or whatever. Tracy's like, no, that's cool. I'll just send a check. I don't want to sit there and miss, your welcoming to Port Charles. Now, she interrupted a date between Lucas and Marco to sit there and try to return the services. And long story short, Marco's like, listen, I can be your lawyer, but like trying to fight this well and everything like that is going to take years. It's much better if you get other people on your side to try to find, like if she's as problematic as you say, get other people to sit there and see that. It'll go a long way as far as like helping fighting this well. While that's going on, you got Vaughn and Britt that are talking. And what I didn't understand was Vaughn wants to then question Britt. But I was like, I thought that Jack was like, listen, we're not going to question you. We're not going to bring you in. We're not going to do any of that stuff as long as you leave my agents alone. You don't make trouble for me. I'm not going to make trouble for you. So I guess Vaughn just decided to go rogue and start asking questions. Now, while that's going on, Lucas walks over. And Lucas originally came to talk to Vaughn and just, happened to bump into Britt. And Britt is not there blaming Lucas because she's like, what happened to Brad? He turned off all his social media. What did you do to drive him away? I'm like, what did he do to drive your toxic, blackmailing friend out of Port Charles? Are you kidding me? The same person who was blackmailing Portia, trying to blackmail Michael, and they're having, straight Michael, and they're having sex with him. That Brad, is that who you're sitting there talking about? So, of course, the conversation just goes nowhere, and she blames Lucas for everything. And at this point, Lucas is like, listen, I'm not even here for you. I'm here for Vaughn. And he pretty much, says if you hurt Jocelyn again, you'll have to deal with me. I'm like, okay, listen, I get that was supposed to be a very nice and sweet uncle moment, but I mean, let's be honest. Vaughn ain't worried about you. Nobody's worried about you. Let's just be real. He ain't worried about you. So Britt walks back over to Marco and Lucas to sit there and start shit talking Lucas, and they're saying, "Oh well, good luck with him. His standards are ridiculously high, and just ask Brad or whatever," and walks away. Lucas is like, don't pay attention to her ever. I'm not worried about you. I know you're not going to sit there and lie to me. You can see the look of guilt on Marco's face as he says that, because he's working with his dad to sit there and bring down Lucas's family in a sense, and lying to him about it. Also lying about the fact that he's more involved with his father's business than he's told him. What else is there? Oh, Steinberg, or whatever that really creepy, terrible, god awful prison that Valentine's in. So Lulu comes to talk to Valentine to sit there and get some ground rules. Basically Snitch is saying, don't make her feel guilty for her starting over and just kind of living a good life. Valentine's like, no, this is exactly what I want. And he tells Lulu, because she's just going off on the mouth, that he purposely got caught. So this way, Charlotte can come and live with Lulu. Which he didn't know that at the time, but I mean, she didn't know at the time, but yeah, I got caught on purpose. And I wanted Charlotte to sit there and live a better life. While that's going on, you got Charlotte that's not there just being a smartass to Jack. Smith is saying, you're a bad guy, and this, that, and the third. And part of me was like, I really wanted Jack to sit there and say, I'm the one that put your dad in jail. And to be honest, you're making me kind of angry. And I'm going to decide I'm going to take it out on your dad and make his hellish life even more hellish just because. Just because you're being a brat about it. You know? I really wish he would have said that. Anyway, Lulu leaves and Charlotte goes to visit Valentine. They catch up and everything. And one of the first things that caught him off guard was the fact that she called him dad instead of papa. He was like, no, it's cool. You're old enough. It's about time or whatever. They catch up a little bit, and Valentine has a message for Charlotte. Don't trust Britt. And tell your brother not to sit there and trust her either because she ain't good news. She is bad news. Just do not sit there and trust her. Meanwhile, Lulu is, upset with Jack for, using Charlotte as a pawn to get whatever sort of information out of Valentine. Smith to say, I'm never going to put her through this again. And I'm like, she's visiting her dad. This is something that she wanted to do for a very long time. So, like, what are you talking about? Like, she still has a little bit of that selfishness in her where she wants to sit there and really acknowledge that Valentine is not Charlotte's his father, but, like, you can't change that. And also, it's not there blaming Jack for putting a target on Charlotte's back, and Jack is like, no, I didn't do that. Valentine and the life that he led put a target on y'all daughter's back. So don't put that on me. Which is very true. And after that they hug and then, eventually they won't leave him. Now I feel like that was about it. I can't think of anything else that wound up happening more or less. I will say this though. I made well, I got a video that I did that I'm gonna be putting out soon. And it's a good one. It's a good one. All I'm gonna sit there and say is Drew Kane is not the only monster, and he is not even a monster compared to some of the other characters that I've seen in the course of doing these member streams. I'll say that. Now I'm going to be doing a live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll be talking about all the shows. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do Beyond the Gates because it's a little kind of late. And I want to sit there and make sure that I promptly start on time to do my live stream since I do got to wake up early in the morning. But yeah, if I miss anything, let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you're not a member, make sure you join. I've been doing these weekend member streams where we've been reacting to like classic soaps and characters and stuff like that. And I'm gonna sit there and say this much: The character that we're going to be looking at on Sunday is wow. I've been reading up on this character, and this is it's a whole new territory for me. I'll sit there and say that much. And I've been watching soap operas since high school. I can tell you right now that this is gonna be a doozy. So shout out to Jonathan for recommending me this character that we're gonna be sitting there looking at. So if you are not a member, make sure you join. It's, it's gonna be one. All right. I will sit there and see y'all tonight, and yeah.